Today in history, C.S. Lewis passed away. He's one of my favorite authors, the author of Mere Christianity, The Abolition of Man, Chronicles of Narnia, on and on. But I think that one of the most important things right now in 2025 is for everybody to read The Abolition of Man before the year runs out. Why? Because C.S. Lewis was able to see that there are certain implications to education, right? The worldview with which you bring to education. I'm going to go through The Abolition of Man. I've read Mere Christianity a few times, or different sections a few times. I think it's one of the best books with analogies for people to read. And then I want to, there's journals. I want to highlight that there's even journals about reflecting on some of his writings, and just to help people kind of journal it. So thanks to Jean and Mary from Grand Forks for this book on C.S. Lewis, the journal. But yeah, today was a very interesting day. It was a sad day in American history. It was also the day that C.S. Lewis died. So that's what happened today. I'm going to start posting more videos on our channel. Sorry about being missing the last few weeks, but we've settled near Austin, Texas. And I'm excited to keep the conversation going about living sensibly, living a life that makes sense. And I think it's going to be critical in this day and age that we live in. With all this technological advancement, we're not talking enough about what it means to live a life that makes sense. Because if you don't focus on what it means to live a life that makes sense, then the technology you make might actually cause more problems than it solves in the long run. If you don't have people who are also addressing the ethics, and if people are not addressing the ethics and the morals and the values. So join us in this discussion. We are working with homeschoolers more. My other channel, Counting to Calculus, is where I'll be posting more videos about homeschoolers and helping with mathematics especially. But I would say that for this channel, you can expect to see more videos about book reviews, about education, about a new education initiative which will help us launch. Well, we're still in the preparation phase, but we're going to have micro schools around the world, God willing. We're going to have homeschool communities. We want to support families. Custom-made education. That's the word I use. Custom-made education. I don't think it's enough to just standardize learning for everybody to learn the same thing. And in The Abolition of Man, C.S. Lewis talks about education. But I think that our current education system and the current technological advancement don't go together. Because if you keep getting these tools that can personalize education or make education more accessible at scale, why are we teaching math topics at the same pace for everybody? Sometimes people who love math and people who hate math, and in the same classroom, and you're trying to teach at a certain pace, it just doesn't work. I think that parents have to take back a lot of the education piece and make sure that they understand what's going on. I don't believe in standardization of I don't think this idea, for the most part, and I know there's more fleshing out we need to do. I don't think a nation or a state should tell you what your math limits should be. We need to encourage our children to reach the highest levels they can get to with the abilities they've been blessed with as they go through their journey of learning, especially when it comes to, math is beautiful, right? So we had to create a system, but that system is not only expired, I would argue that it's actually become toxic, and it goes against raising top thinkers. We need to rethink what we're doing in how we relate to any sort of curriculum standards and expectations. We should allow children to go as far as they can. For example, if a child wants to be an engineer and they're 12 years old and they know they want to be an engineer, then let's just let them keep growing and mastering and moving on. Now, I do want to emphasize one more thing. Sorry, I know this was supposed to be a short video. And that is that we should probably not ignore the importance of reading the great books together and discussing them. So, for example, the Abolition of Man. This could be a 4-week course. A 4-week course discussing The Abolition of Man by C.S. Lewis. That's a course. We need that dialogue. We need those discussions, and we shouldn't neglect that. That's something I do want to emphasize. But when it comes to learning certain mathematical concepts, we should not think for a second that people will all move at the same pace. And now with the technology available, we should not, no, we need to let people move at the pace of their mastery. That means that there are some students that will finish 4 years of traditional math series of courses, in 4 years of that in a year. Yes, there are students that will do that. But there are students who might need 4 years to finish a series of math topics. Why does it matter to rush students through a series of topics if they're stuck and they don't understand? Shouldn't we go back and strengthen the foundation? Moving at the pace of their mastery makes a lot of sense. We'll talk a lot more about education on this channel and the vision we have for launching micro schools and homeschool communities and supporting homeschool communities and supporting micro schools that are already established. Feel free to reach out to us at amosthemathguy@gmail.com, amosthemathguy@gmail.com. And then for Living Sensibly itself, the website is livingsensibly.org, livingsensibly.org. Anyways, that is what happened today in history. C.S. Lewis, wonderful, wonderful author. The first chapter, by the way, is Men Without Chests. He says, I doubt whether we are sufficiently attentive to the importance of elementary textbooks. That is why I've chosen as the starting point for these lectures a little book on English intended for boys and girls in the upper forms of schools. I do not think the authors of this book, there were 2 of them, intended any harm, and I owe them or their publisher good language for sending me a complimentary copy. At the same time, I shall have nothing good to say of them. Here is a pretty predicament. I do not want to pillory 2 modest practicing schoolmasters who were doing the best they knew, but I cannot be silent about what I think the actual tendency of their work. I therefore propose to conceal their names. I shall refer to these gentlemen as Gaius and Titius, and to their book as the Green Book. But I promise you there is such a book, and I have it on my shelves. C.S. Lewis, The Abolition of Man. We'll talk more about this on this channel. Take care and have a blessed day.